Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is Four Guys in a Bar. I apologize that we have been on a hiatus.
It's just been a sweet, sweet vacation, everybody.
New York Comic Con.
Due to scheduling issues and technical issues, we have not been able to do two recaps of NFL, unfortunately, and I apologize for that. However, we do have a special episode today where two of us watched Venom and another one has experience with comic books, goes to Comic-Con, essentially is one of our experts along with the other member of our group that is here today, ladies and gentlemen.
I also have a Carnage t-shirt to back up my expertise. Freshly minted off of New York Comic Con.
It just proves the fact that he's an expert.
And I got new Spider-Man socks. Yo.
What does that prove?
I mean, technically, I have a hat with all three characters that are going to be in the next movie, so should I be excited? Well, I guess Spider-Man.
You're an expert too. Don't worry, I gave it to you.
Thank you. So let's get into this review. The movie, from what the experts were saying, the top critics and everyone else, 31% out of 100 on Rotten Tomatoes. I do not agree with that whatsoever.
But definitely don't agree with that. And I originally said that critics were giving a low rating because it wasn't probably up to Marvel's usual standards. Even though Sony made this, it's still a Marvel storyline, so they expected better. So I think that's why it got downgraded. But as you saw, the fans upvoted it a lot, and I called those pity votes.
Well, also Hardy was he was out of his element. I feel like in this one, he's a great actor. Don't get me wrong, but playing like that weak, like a meek kind of personality, where the Venom symbiote is what really makes him shine. But I'll leave that to you guys to explain that more.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, just so you know, No Deer here is the one that has not watched it. I have watched it, and
me, Nick.
Yeah, Nick has watched it. So, No Deer will be going off of what we say, and he'll add his input through what he's his expertise of what he's read and everything else. And what I will say this right now, it was one of the third or fourth points, actually at the bottom of my list. No Deer, just so you know, if you've seen the trailer, you've seen the movie.
Okay, so that's what I was basing my whole perception of what his character was, because how he is. He looks confused.
So just give a warning to fans. Spoilers up ahead. Ryan, this is where you edit in some kind of spoiler sound, like a choo-choo train,
maybe a horn or something. Whatever you want to do, Ryan. So next point, the director of Zombieland, which obviously we all love.
Yeah, who doesn't like Zombieland when it came out? I think everybody found something appealing for it, whether it was the humor or the overall, zombie world apocalypse that they created in it. That was intriguing one way or another.
Absolutely, I agree with that 100%. I agree with what certain people were saying, and I wish my cousin is here. He's a huge Venom fan. That's his favorite Marvel character, and he said it felt like it was too much of a Zombieland movie where that type of movie, the way it's broken down, would work with four main characters. That type of directing just won't work with one single character and a symbiote.
As a Spider-Man fan, this movie, it was so hard to do without the Spider-Man aspect of it. How do you explain Venom looking like an oversized Spider-Man? They couldn't do that, and they didn't even throw anything in like, oh, he looked at the TV and saw Spider-Man, and he tried to imitate that. Nothing like that was even shown. So I was upset from the beginning from that point.
Well, that actually makes absolutely no sense. Did they not even say that the symbiote originally came from Spider-Man? That's why They messed up his origin story.
I knew Nodia
watch
wouldn't
it.
like that part.
Because the reason Venom is so dangerous is Spider-Man's Spidey senses always tends to pick up danger, and if he didn't originate from Spider-Man, like some part of him, it doesn't make sense that how Venom could always keep him at bay.
They really don't go into Venom having a Spidey sense. There are scenes where he sees things that Eddie Brock does not see. However, it doesn't go into like the sense of, oh my god, Spidey sense is going off, like how the movie would do it.
They went more off of how the comic books right now are treating the symbiotes as alien beings that have their own powers that they can mimic and so forth. And there's different levels of these symbiotes, and which is kind of different because in the original, Venom creates carnage, and then there's other symbiotes
My
that are
favorite
created
symbiote, by the
from
way.
it.
Best
and
character.
it's just it was a lot different than I thought they'd be. A little interesting still.
Actually, with No Dear being here, this is obviously completely not like the comic books. Spoiler alert. So how Riot gets to Earth, he's apparently captured with the rest of them, and all of a sudden he's the one that I'm assuming escapes and crashes the plane and causes, or the spaceship, I'm sorry, not plane, and is the only one that's still essentially out doing its own thing. And there's a whole scene, I'm not getting into it, it's too much to explain. He takes over somebody, and then legitimately, for what they say, 6 months later, for 6 months he's traveling between hosts. That's how Riot becomes who he is when he gets to the main bad guy.
Who the hell is Riot? I know Carnage and Venom. I know Anti-Venom.
Okay, so just Riot is supposed to be one of the different members of the symbiotes. You have different appearances of the symbiotes that show up throughout different iterations of Spider-Man, but primarily most fans don't know Riot because he's been such a minor character in most of the Spider-Man Venom team-ups. However, as I said, with the newer comics that they're coming out right now, Venom has different offsprings or different kind of children per se that are created, and Riot is one of those.
Venom's a dude, right?
Symbiote, no gender.
So
asexually, filling in science now.
So actually, in a way, I guess it kind of makes sense that they used him specifically because, as you both just said, he's not a favorite, so people won't really hate that he's a throwaway villain, because that's what it felt like in this movie. It just didn't seem like they put too much in the writing, too much in character development, which is fine because we get it. It's an origin story. I always say all origin stories aren't amazing. You kind of just need to lay down the groundwork so the sequel, maybe the trilogy or the spin-off or the interjection of another movie, different character can kind of take that character off. So I guess I'm kind of glad that they used Riot out of anybody for that character if he's not that huge. As I said, I'm really not that big into the comics, huge into the movies. Will watch any movie that comes out, have it be Marvel, DC, even though obviously my biasm will definitely kind of keep me away from DC movies and judge it a different way, just because the way the trend has been going. I am definitely opened. I am interested in what's going on.
But you and Nick are big Spidey fans in general, like I know you guys love that. I love the animated show as well, but I'm a big X-Men guy, and obviously they're coming out with their variation, which is kind of scaring me with the Dark Phoenix saga. Speaking of which, Nick, I heard you had a run-in with Sophie Turner.
Sophie Turner.
Alright, sorry, we have to go off air for a little bit. Inappropriate things are happening in here.
Oh, God. He's
But-
turning away and he's touching himself.
Let's just say my tombstone will say made Sophie Turner smirk.
Hey, Nick, where's my shirt?
We forgot at home with Ryan's.
We or you?
We.
I gave it to Nick. You'll see them before you see me. I told him this, but he made that mistake.
You don't need till Game of Thrones comes back on anyway.
But
Very true.
going back to the movie though, but I hate it when movies do this. Like you said, if I've seen the trailer, I've seen the whole movie. That's one of the most annoying things, because you want a movie to surprise you. Like for example, Captain America, Winter Soldier, and what surprised me, because guess what? They brought back Hydra. Like at no point did they give up. Like, oh, if you're one of those people that loves to break down trailers, you might notice that. But
Again, you can't really compare a origin story to one of the top comic book movies ever created.
but that's true. But also like a top.
Ladies and gentlemen, he always goes to this specific movie every time he wants to compare
Well,
anything.
Well,
No,
Winter
no,
Soldier is
second.
one of our. We've both talked about it. After we got out Winter Soldier, it was one of our favorite Marvel movies to this day because of the complexity and of kind of changing the storyline around from what we knew.
It was Dark Knight level good. That's why it was up there for me, and it just you love it when a movie makes you think and leaves you speechless and awed, and the character development in the whole thing. But like you said, it's all of the origin stories they usually suck. Look at Thor,
Again, ladies and gentlemen, I am sorry. We are on the Venom review. We are going off hand.
Okay, one of the things I want to talk about the movie is how bad the dry humor was in it. Like, that really got to me. There was minus the interaction between the symbiote Venom and Eddie Brock. The humor in this movie was dry. It just wasn't funny for me, and that's weird because when Zombieland came out, I thought there was a lot of great points to it, great funny parts to it that could have been brought up like that here, in a similar aspect. But I didn't get as much besides, as I said, the Eddie Brock Venom, banter.
Again, because of the fact that he hit lightning in a bottle with Zombieland, I felt like he may have tried to push the comedy at the beginning of the movie a little too much. Maybe if he got a senses of the fact that them together everyone loved, he may have been able to keep the beginning of it pretty dark, because it was a dark tone essentially. I mean, he goes against all of his morals, and he obviously does what, spoiler alert, he ends up using his fiance's email for information. He's desperate. He wants to get the next story.
Yeah, I saw that, and that's part of Brock's character, the kind of like the self-destruction that he has, and that's part of his backstory. So that I understood where that came from. That leads to his kind of depression / downward turn spiral to becoming and attracting Venom.
And that's what would have been great if he didn't try that dumb humor that was really dry. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Everyone knows what I'm going to talk about. That one scene, they're coming down in the elevator, and they're talking about aliens and symbiotes, and no one knows what it is. And Eddie Brock's down the elevator. Tom Hardy, I'm sorry that you had to do this scene. He legitimately goes, aliens like E.T.? And he puts his fucking finger out.
I honestly think that Dr. Skirth that was in the scene with him is probably one of the worst characters in any Marvel movie I've seen. That her acting was so bad. It was so offsetting so many times for me.
That actress is actually phenomenal. The fact that she had to play a serious part, I have no clue why she was casted. And that was another point, that this casting was horrible. Even the main villain, he is not a bad actor.
Yeah, he's famous from what was the HBO series, The Night of, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he killed it in that. That was a great. It was one of the hidden gems of last year. But also from what I heard, I don't know if everybody heard this, but Tom Hardy said a lot of the scenes he loved personally were taken out of this movie, which I don't understand why they keep doing this. If the actor feels it's right, I guess that's why actors get paid and directors direct. But it sucks when someone like him invests his time in comic books.
I think it's more of a studio jumping in, making sure they can kind of swallow the pride of everything and say, listen, not even telling the director or the actors. I think they were just trying to make it PG-13. They sell more because everyone can watch it compared to a rated R movie. And they were apparently, ladies and gentlemen, I am doing air quotes just now, they can use him later in the Spideyverse and maybe possibly in the Marvel universe.
Yeah, hey, they could, but I don't know if this also Hardy would be offset by their use. You know, why would he want to return if they're going to do something like that? You know, which brings me back to the point of the acting in this. Him and Michelle Williams, the chemistry there. I didn't see it, which is weird because Sony's done a good job with their Spider-Man movies before. Whether it was Toby and Kirsten Dunst, they had chemistry on set, and then in the remake, and it was
Andrew Garfield, Emma.
Yeah, Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone, and that was really good chemistry. I like that chemistry there, so that was really surprising when they didn't have this because Eddie Brock's character, he messes up his situation with his love, and there's different takes and different forms right now, and like he tries to make it up to her. He tries to do things because they have a family. They're supposed to have like a family together, or she's pregnant, different iterations, and it's really surprising that it was that bad and that his love really wasn't shown as much as I wanted.
What is this, Romeo and Juliet? Love? And first of all, I'll tell you why he'll come back. Ryan, make sure you add this in. The opening of a register. Ka-ching! Because it's all about the money. You know how much money they can make with these spin-offs and being part of these big series now? But
he's definitely not wrong. This is exactly what...
Because you could basically make your money while taking the personal jobs that you want. You don't have to focus on big name movies anymore,
But,
do as a group.
But Tom Hardy turned down a chance to be Bond for this, just imagine that. He could have been the next Bond, guys.
I really felt like he definitely picked the wrong character. I mean, I'm happy they did at the end result, just due to the fact he was the only one really carrying the movie towards the end, just due to the fact of him and Venom talking throughout the whole movie. So I'm really happy they casted him for this. But I was actually extremely angry. As we were saying, I'm really glad that they used him for this specific role because the conflict between each other and the dialogue between him and Venom was fantastic throughout the whole movie, especially towards the end. I really liked when he didn't know what was wrong with him, and that comedy was great for comedy. I don't know if you want to add anything to that, because that one scene, actually that whole, the next 4 scenes in that whole, where he finally gets infected, is hilarious.
Yeah. So it's pretty... It's pretty interesting. It's like a different forms of everything from, original Spider-Man where, he's like cocooning himself to different, being sick when, you're doing a metamorphosis. So it was a different take on it. So that was really cool. And the banter, of course, that, he starts hearing voices and he's like, I think I'm going crazy, pretty much. But it's really interesting, the development of how he figures out, hey, I'm not crazy. This is real.
But the symbiote, what are you going to do about it? It's how the character basically developed over time. Venom to be ruthless. The whole thing about the Spielberg was we have enough superheroes. He's supposed to be like that anti-villain type, and did he pull it off well?
Spoiler alert. He does bite off a couple of heads.
Okay, so they made use of his sharp teeth and his scary look, but well, I know Tom likes Venom, and I knew you have indifferent, you like the Spider-Man universe, but my personal favorite is Carnage, and I don't know if he was mentioned at all in this.
Spoiler alert. Yes, he was at the end credit scenes.
How?
We will get back to that.
Everyone missed that, but Tom kind of threw his pen in the air and it got stuck in his hair. It was a good sight.
But so basically, what we're going back to was there was it factor there for why you liked Venom? Like,
No. Actually,
There was one good fight scene where it showed like Venom's power and kind of his ability per se, but that was it for me, in my opinion. Like, they didn't really showcase what he could do in like the Spider-Verse that you've seen.
are you talking about the fight scene with the SWAT team?
Yes.
I actually hated that scene. That's actually, I made a key point of that Venom it's his origin story. He apparently, I guess maybe this is due to the fact of what he stated in the movie. Apparently he was a loser in his home world, so maybe he's not the most battle efficient compared to anyone else.
Yeah, it was so weird that he called himself a loser.
Yeah, but throughout the whole movie, ladies and gentlemen, Venom's not a loser. He's trying to compare himself. I'm assuming they're trying to humanize him to the point where we'll get into this later, where the reason why Venom decides to stay, which isn't really even friggin' explained other than 2 sentences.
Ugh.
But yeah, Venom actually in that scene does not feel powerful at all. Maybe in the very beginning, but then once flashbangs were incorporated in that scene, it felt like he was probably the weakest pussy I've ever seen in any superhero movie.
Well, the flashbangs it's that sound.
I'm not giving that away, but the fact that you said that it showed his true power. It didn't. I feel like he didn't feel as powerful. And you know what's funny? It happens to due to the fact of it not being a rated R movie. If it was a rated R movie, it wouldn't just be him whipping some guy around. It would probably be him ripping somebody apart and then using body parts to throw at people.
That sounds more like Venom, because from what I remember reading, he's more on the brute strength. Like, he'll overpower you. There's a reason. The guy looks like a gigantic Spider-Man, like Hulk, basically Hulk-ized Spider-Man.
Yeah, that was my main part, and that this was going to lead into one of my other points. There wasn't a lot of action scenes. The action scenes were decent. They weren't as good as I wanted. The CGI during the action scenes were weak. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not saying this is a bad movie. This is definitely better than a 31%. So don't take this podcast as of us hating it. It's just us giving out an honest review, because it's not a horrible movie. It's just not a great movie.
But I understand, because so many reviews were saying how much the critics were killing the movie, but the fans liked it. So it was a divisive movie. It's good to have this input, like, personally, you heard about even, like, the Star Wars movie back when it came out, like, the true fans hated it and the critics loved it. It's just to give you an overall sense of the movie and from fans of the series and characters.
Yeah, you know what weird comparison I want to make to it, that maybe No Deer will get, and maybe some rare other people. It reminded me of Guyver, like this person getting like an alien power and then using it to fight, people, and misusing it here and there,
Oh damn, that's a flashback. I love it, but that's a good way of putting it. But the whole thing was, it's supposed to be anti-hero, hardcore badass, you know. And so I'm guessing Venom's supposed to feed off of like Brock's like urges, you know, like to amplify him, like his hatred for Spider-Man. That's what originally what it was. Fueled him, it kept him going, but not having Spidey in it, that's why I didn't really want to give it a chance, or until I heard better things from you guys. But
they made it more like the controlled version towards the end of it, where you know, in the comics, Brock can control it. The Venom, you know, symbiote is controlled by Brock and by his actions, and he uses it and fuels it with anger and fight only, you know, and allows him to per se not lose control like he used to in the beginning. They kind of don't give him that much of he loses control and starts, you know, massacring. Really, that scene doesn't really happen in this movie in the beginning at all.
Yeah. But back to, we kind of want, ladies and gentlemen, we're already at 26 minutes. I kind of want to somewhat wrap this one topic up. Maybe we'll get into Comic-Con for you guys. Ladies and gentlemen, this is also a Comic-Con episode. We had these two guys there, enjoying life, having a great time. Nadir was only there for Friday. Nick was there for Friday and Saturday. Want to get their input. I'm going to go with them hopefully next year for sure. You guys got to let me know when, well, Nick, more than anything, just literally hit me with a text. I will definitely do what I got to do to make sure we get tickets, and we'll go. I'll at least go with you Friday and Saturday.
You got to dress up.
But that's fine. Final thoughts, though, on this, and a couple things. We'll get back to the Carnage thing real quick. Carnage, Woody's in it. Woody Harrelson is in it. Obviously, you must have known that he is.
Oh shit! No, I didn't. That's awesome.
Okay.
So okay.
Woody Harrelson is Carnage. He is not Carnage yet. However, he has. Does he have a red fro in the comics?
He has red. He's red hair. Yes.
Okay. What's his name? Cletus Cassidy.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so that's it. That's Carnage.
Okay.
He's a psychopathic.
Yes.
He's basically a serial killer getting his hands on a symbiote, which is what you want.
He's in it. He is the spoiler alerts, ladies and gentlemen. He is in it as the human base form, as a serial killer. That is apparently the main story that that Eddie ends up mentioning towards the end of the movie. He says he has a huge interview. It's special for him. It's legitimately like the biggest thing he could ever get.
Damn.
However, yes, that was great, but Sony, please stop putting in scenes that legitimately ruin the movie. So, Nadir, real quick, spoiler alerts. They get into this dumb rocket ship, or the main villain gets into the rocket ship. Venom legitimately states sound and fire are the weakness to them.
Yep.
Blows up a rocket. Legitimately, Venom is saving Eddie because he wants to save Eddie. By the way, we forgot to get into the whole... There was only 2 sentences of the reason why he wanted to stay on Earth, but whatever. We'll skip over that because everyone else did from what I saw regarding reviews. But saves Eddie, burns up in the fire. The fucking scene that they highlight in all goddamn trailers where he's in the liquor store and he does that dumb little turd saying that he does. I'm not saying it's dumb, ladies and gentlemen, but just the fact that the scene's in there. He does that. They put that scene in there. It's the fucking last scene of the movie. It's him talking to that guy.
Oh my god. So you're saying,
So it gives you a hope of Venom might be gone. How does he get Venom back? Blah, 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 blah. You have no questions because guess what? That goddamn scene's in the movie. Or in the trailer.
They did this with
Spider-Man 2. With the with Rhino.
Oh,
attacking
I
him or
hate
whatever.
when I first saw a Rhino in that trailer. I fucking loved it. I was like, yo, they adapted it pretty cool. It's a guy in a big rhino suit. But of course, I was waiting the whole movie, and at the end, like you say, fuck, man.
Yeah. So
this
that
is why you gotta
Sony's-
let Marvel keep doing their own thing.
Sony, you need to stop.
It's just some of the best Spider-Man. Spider-Man 2, man. Alfred Molina, Doc Ock. That was one of the best iterations of Doc Ock I've seen. So I can't say that I hate everything Sony has done. So I'm just gonna say, guys.
Recently, they've lost. We're not. Listen, that trilogy, other than the third movie, I will leave up there for Sony's legacy of being great movies. Those are terrific movies.
Well, I think the actor who played Norman Osborn was perfect. You don't understand, like, his laugh. He's just laughing and smiling. That's just the perfect iteration of, the Goblin going crazy or the Goblin gas. I was just like, oh god, that's perfect when I first saw
Say
it.
his name, Nick. What's the actor's name?
I'm not gonna say it.
The food.
Willem Dafoe!
One last thing I want to add to this, and we'll cut to the Comic-Con, is that I agree with Nick's original comment on this at the very beginning of the podcast. They needed Spider-Man. This misses so much of the dynamic of who he becomes and the backstory of Eddie, and also Venom, the symbiote. Like, everything about this. You miss so much not having this. I understand they can't touch him. It just felt so weak because of it.
I really hope, like, when they come out with a DVD or edited version of this, whatever it is, that it's going to be like Eddie says that he left New York because of Spider-Man. He hates Spider-Man. He has, like, a dream of crushing Spider-Man in his dreams, and that's when the symbiote, kind of fully takes over. I wanna kind of see that scene, because at least, Sony owns the right to Spider-Man, so they can use any form of Spider-Man they want. So I don't understand why they didn't at all, at least to give a form to Venom so they understand why he looks like Spider-Man. It's like, oh, I'm just gonna look like a giant over-hulking Spider-Man. Oh, okay.
Guys, first of all, I wanted to tell you, do not look up Carnage's origin story. It might ruin the next movie, so just let it go. Just know that Carnage is a great fucking character to be introduced, and what you guys were going on, if Spider-Man it was needed in it, was it like how Iron Man was used in Spider-Man Homecoming, where he made enough of a appearance to, like, make you appreciate him into it? But
I didn't think Spider-Man was that necessary. They just needed him to kind of show Eddie Brock's hate and influence for the symbiote. That's it. I don't think it was really like they needed that much iteration to really have Spider-Man.
the fact they already messed up his origin story
Well,
that badly.
it was so weird because, spoiler alert, they had Jameson's
Enough with the spoiler alert.
Jameson's son in it, as an astronaut
okay.
still.
Okay,
And-
so they got that part right.
But they kill him off, and that's it.
Did they have Jameson himself?
No, they didn't mention him at all. But
Speaking of JJ, guys, John Jameson.
yeah,
Ladies and gentlemen, if you liked this podcast, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Please add a comment below. We appreciate all your support and any feedback you have on this.
and you guys can follow us at 4 Guys and a Bar. That's 4 as the number 4. Guys and a Bar on Twitter. We'll be posting our videos through YouTube links there, and you can of course interact with us. We're trying to get more of a following so we can start doing more polls to maybe have you guys choose some of the subjects you want us to talk about. As always, you can also ask questions. We want to create a Q&A area for you guys, so we'll build from that as well.
And we do actually have a bar, guys. This is not a joke. The reason I'm missing most of the time is because I am working at this bar.
And again, we will be doing a very, very, very short episode to link to this. So tune in next time.